A summary of key events during World War II. Events that led to a pointless argument that never seems to stop, that began before the television became commercially available to the public for purchase, after the end of World War II. The commercial release of the television was really bad timing for everyone. During the terrorism group the Neo-Nazis' heinous evil terrorism rampage in Germany, between their establishment by name in December 1943 when their mass genocide began, to their occupation of deserted parts of Germany's major cities in 1944 and 1945, an argument broke out amongst them that contributed to their rapid disintegration. It quickly caused their breakdown, arguments between them, violent arguments, captures, arrests, and trials for their crimes where applicable, including at the Nuremberg trials in the German Supreme Court complex starting November 1945. In December 1943, then Kaiser and Chancellor Adolf Hitler the Hohenzollern was abducted from a private dinner hosted at a hotel in Berlin by his biological cousin, Sadie Einstein. He was then made a prisoner of war in Yugoslavia until his escape in 1959. After my great-grandfather was illegally imprisoned in Yugoslavia, they assaulted him and stole his sperm whilst he was barely conscious. They then got his biological cousin, Sadie Einstein, hideously evil lunatic Albert Einstein's sister, pregnant with it. Their intention was to breed a deliberately inbred part Hohenzollern, part Einstein child she consented to gestating on their behalf. They were intending to pretend to steal my Hohenzollern royal family off Kaiser Adolf with the intentionally inbred child. They chose a deliberately inbred child because attempting to steal my Habsburg and my Romanov ancestors' royal families by abducting both and trying to replace them with impostors failed during World War I. It led to the execution of all the impostors involved in both instances, the Romanov royal family being declared presumed permanently vacant at the time, and my Habsburg royal family being dissolved as the constitutional monarchy of Austria and Hungary. The dissolving left the private Habsburg royal family estate and the minor titles Duke, Lord, Duchess, and Lady for the future. The Habsburg royal family estate has been illegally withheld from my Webb family by Austria and Hungary since the last prince of the Habsburg monarchy, my great-grandfather Prince Sebastian, died in 1960. They thought an inbred Hohenzollern Einstein child would be a more connected option and give them a real child to pretend to steal my Hohenzollern royal family with. They let Kaiser Adolf regain consciousness after they conceived the illegally inbred child, confirming that they had chemically rendered him infertile via assaulting him for sperm samples and checking them under a microscope afterwards. Because he was legally childless and homosexual, they were attempting to pretend his only option for an heir and successor was the ineligible inbred child Sadie was gestating. That wasn't correct, though. The child was ineligible under law from the instant of conception. It also wasn't true due to Janet Podolsky having the firstborn child to Kaiser Adolf's stolen sperm, born 1907 when he was 18. Donna Podolsky, my grandmother. But that theoretical future possibility through Donna Podolsky only became a reality when I got born and became eligible in 1972. After they let him regain consciousness, they paraded the pregnant Sadie Einstein around in front of him outside his cell, and told him they would drag him back to Berlin after the baby was born to start pretending the Einsteins were taking over my Hohenzollern royal family. They told him they would force him to pretend to marry Sadie illegally. They would force him to illegally name her a princess. Pretend she was becoming his queen. They told him he would be forced to illegally pretend to name the ineligible baby a prince or princess, then pretend it became crown prince or crown princess as if he consented to it and it was legally eligible. Then, when they pretended that was done by forcing him to write invalid and irrelevant documents that could never be authenticated and become valid, they would kill him and make the ineligible, irrelevant, illegally inbred baby, Kaiser. Ignoring the fact the invalid documents, if written, would have had to have been submitted to the German Supreme Court if following procedure to pretend and would have been rejected if they ever arrived. They were intending to pretend that the ineligible baby, its mother Sadie, and the baby's irrelevant uncle Albert, became the Hohenzollern royal family afterwards. A pretending avalanche. After he was abducted, the group responsible for the terrorism rampage starting December 1943, the Neo-Nazis, went to try to find Janet Podolsky. The female they knew gave birth to the firstborn child bred with Kaiser Adolf's stolen sperm when he was crown prince, born 1907. Donna Podolsky, my grandmother. They went to find Janet, fully aware she gave birth to the firstborn child conceived with sperm stolen from the prisoner of war Kaiser, when he was a teenager. They found her working in a Dusseldorf prostitution district, with access to underground bunkers, and dodged around her robotic-like offers of prostitution to offer her a deal. The offer was to employ her to be a fictitious character they invented called Eva Braun. The job was similar to acting, but only posing for photographs and film. More like organized crime modeling, theoretically. She was to be made over by an award-winning film production crew to look like she matched clothing and styling in past photographs of homosexual Kaiser Adolf Hitler. She was to pose to look like she was in the past photographs, on location where possible, and would need to be directed so she looked like she was there when the original was taken. They would then gradually superimpose the images of her into past photographs of Kaiser Adolf, dating back to when he went into politics seriously in the 1930s. Their original intention, when they offered her the job, was to try to fake her being his fiancée and regular girlfriend, right back to when she was 16 and got pregnant with his stolen sperm, when he was under anesthetic in hospital in 1906. They intended to work their way backwards from the most recent photographs and film of the Kaiser and Chancellor, back through his sexual relationship with Prince Sebastian Habsburg in 1943, back through to his coronation in 1940, back through his career in politics, then the almost impossible of back to when she was 16 and he was in hospital aged 17. Try to make it look like she was his teenage female girlfriend, then sexual partner, through to being his fiancée during World War II. All because they knew she had the firstborn baby to his stolen sperm. An almost impossible task after going back into the early 1930s in context. They told her the job would involve bulk photographs, possibly some film footage. They then informed her that past lunatic photographers had consistently photographed Kaiser Adolf, leaving enough room next to him for a female to be in them. They had done it to suggest he would never get useful, well-framed shots of himself until he had a female partner with him in public, despite his homosexuality, and was pretending to be in a sexual relationship with her, with promises of more. Those incompetent images taken by photographer Lunatics, always leaving room for a female next to him, were just too convenient for superimposing her into foot. Too easy. They told her they would cobble together costumes made by real award-winning film production crews for her to wear when posing. They would use deceased German citizens and residents' clothing and accessories for the costumes for her photo and film sessions. They informed Janet they were in the process of committing a mass genocide of German civilians that began December 1943, and they had already killed millions. She agreed to take the job and was taken to Berlin with them. There was even an employment contract for her job posing for the photos and film. They worked on the images, pretending she was an upcoming young actress starlet he was secretly dating since teenage years, working their way backwards, superimposing her into the photographs and recording film. Janet ended up getting her short-statured sister and cousin involved as well, without asking permission first. In Yugoslavia, in the prisoner of war jail, Kaiser Adolf was being illegally held captive. They were pretending Sadie Einstein would become the equivalent of Kaiser Adolf's queen when the inbred baby was born, and he was dragged back to Berlin to pretend to sign over my royal Hohenzollern family to the Einsteins. Einsteins related to the South Americans from French Guiana that murdered all but one French royal in France in the 1790s. All they had to do was wait for the inbred baby to be born, drag Kaiser Adolf back to Berlin whilst escorting Sadie and the inbred baby. Then have him write documents pretending to sign my royal family over, as if it was all legitimate, and make them royals. Then they would have disabled him, tortured him for information, then killed him and pretended to make the ineligible baby Kaiser, even if it had 7 fingers on both hands and 3 eyes. They were pretending that after they arrived, Sadie would become Kaiser's spouse, the equivalent of Queen of Germany temporarily. Until Kaiser Adolf was killed and they pretended the child became the new Kaiser. They started leaving them alone together in the jail regularly. Kaiser Adolf chained up in his cell, with Sadie in a working-class posh spinster's apartment set up on the other side of the bars, complete with a kitchen, dining area, and lounge furniture. They pretended the time they were left alone together was the equivalent of an engagement, preparing for their illegal marriage. Whenever they left them alone in the converted underground train station together, they had Sadie sit and wait for Kaiser Adolf to start conversations with her. As if he had intellectually accepted that the baby was his only chance for an heir and successor, even though it was not eligible, and they should discuss plans for the baby after it was born and transported to Berlin. Kaiser Adolf had to ask Sadie for food when he was hungry. He was fed the main course served at the dinner she hosted that he was abducted from in December 1943, when he did ask for food. Nothing else. Rubik's Cube like French meatloaf, scalloped potatoes, and a choice of 3 types of green vegetables.